Good morning, and welcome back to the Fixed Roof Coop channel. If you're new here, my name's Chris. We are heading from Western Mass to Central Mass. We're going to meet a guy from Eastern Mass who's going to meet us in Central Mass and provide us with a marketplace find that my friend Tim sent me. It's a 671 Detroit Supercharger. Let's go! I don't know what gas is for you where you guys are, but right now we're at $3.19 for regular. Get myself a Dunkin's coffee. People always say, you know, I don't like Dunkin', or what's up with you New Englanders and Dunkin' Donuts and all this stuff. It's like, look it, you can go to your nice fancy coffee shop and you can get your macchiato, latte, whatever the hell, with your oat milk and your sugars. But that girl Susan makes it wrong one time and you hate that place. Us New Englanders come to Dunkin' Donuts because we like a consistently bad cup of coffee. We are back here at the shop. It's cold out. There's no heat. Sorry I didn't record picking it up, and the guy I got it from, some people, you know, they don't like to be recorded and such. So, yeah, I didn't record the interaction, but got it back home here, and I had to clean it a little bit with some brake clean. But this is it. You're probably wondering, why the hell is it covered in so much oil? Now, this was on a boat motor, which is a Detroit motor, and the reason it's covered in oil is it blew a piston ring. And it had a ton of blow-by, and it was just dumping oil into the intake, and it ended up sucking a bunch of oil in, but it rotates good. There's a little bit of noise. I'm not sure what the clearances is. It could just be because it's dirty, but it rotates freely. It still is. It's got gunk in it and whatever, so you're hearing that, like, turn around, but it moves nice. He said he did rebuild it. He said it was a large bore, which I kind of did a little bit of research. It is, I don't think it is a large bore. Large bore is supposed to have a skinnier part of the case, smaller part there. That way it has bigger rotors. I think this is just your regular small bore one, standard one. But as far as getting it, I have it. I only paid $200 for it. Needs a couple of things. Obviously, it was on a diesel motor, so it runs at a lot lower RPMs than a gasoline motor. So for conversions, I have to get different bearings because it's going to run at higher RPMs. And there's a few things you need to do, like these little tabs here. I'll flip it back over. These things actually hung on the side of a motor like such. And that's what these tabs right here are for. If you notice them, it's where it used to like hook and hang on the engine. So I got to pretty much cut right there along the edge and flatten it out. My friend Brent has a bunch of milling machines and whatnot, so I think I'm actually going to have him do it once I take it all apart. That way it's done really clean and precisely, and then also we can square up the edge here where it bolts down, even though it's probably going to be fine, or I can run a straight edge with some sandpaper. Not that big of a deal, so I have to take this off, as well as, you don't have to, these center pieces here, these are kind of made for as it hangs, just adds more structural support to the case. But now it's literally going to be laying flat. A lot of people take these out. Plus, once the carburetors go there, it might interrupt airflow with gas and air, everything like that. So while the case is apart, I'm just going to have Brent mill these out as well and clean the edges up. Same thing, make the top flat. There was one helicoil in there, so I'll clean all these threads up. It is, actually, I think there's two. One there, one there. It is what it is. We'll clean these up, make it work. As far as the bearing kits, to convert it from diesel to gas, not much. I think like $120 I found online for the entire kit. And I think it's like an extra $20. You have to pin the rotors. So on the end of the rotor, there's like a little shaft, and then there's like from what I saw, like almost looks like a socket that goes over the shaft, and they spin. You have to drill a hole through the rotor and pin it so it doesn't rotate at higher RPMs. But as far as dismantling this and taking it apart and everything like that, I'm going to hopefully do it with a friend of mine. He's done this for many years and has taken plenty of these apart. And I might have him show the wife and I how to do it. So stand by for that. But there's our Detroit blower. And for a little perspective, hang on, let me pick this thing up. But as far as a little perspective of where it's going to be, it's probably what it's going to look like. And then have carburetors on top. Hang on. The old idle junk on top of there. Obviously, it's not going to sit flat on top of there. It's going to have an adapter that adapts the carburetors to it. And then, again, I'll give that an inch, half inch. And then you have either air cleaners or velocity stacks. I'm a big fan of the 3-round red circles, the flaps, as far as the blower hats. But also, I'm also a fan. I kind of want to put an old rusted mailbox on there as a scoop and have it pinstripe to say send it. But essentially, that's what we're going to look like. Now, this block was a spare block that was given to me by my friend Mike, kind of just for mock-up, but also it's a good block. Crap heads. Those are, I think, swirl port or whatever the hell they are. Mid-80s smog heads, nothing crazy, prone to cracking. Same thing with the heads I got from Trav. These are not swirl port. Well, I don't believe they are, but they're just regular mid-80s. It was an 86 casting I saw when I looked at the numbers. 86, 76cc smog head, which 76 cc's with a stock cast piston roughly puts me at 8.5 to 1 compression. So with 8.5 to 1, you roughly, that's static compression, right? Just the motor itself. These blowers are good for probably at least 15 pounds, probably 16 if you overdrive it. I think they normally run at like 10, maybe even more. I don't know. I don't know anything really about these. I got a lot of research to do. And I'm putting it on a stock 350, which I know is borrowed time, but I'm going to underdrive the living hell out of it. Because essentially, I ain't building a race car. This isn't a race car. Like, this is a cool car, right? This is like, go on a couple weekend road trips with it or take it to a car show or something like that. Just enjoy it, right? That's the whole purpose of this car. So I think the 350 with the smog heads are probably itself makes 160 horsepower in 86 or mid-80s, whatever the hell that motor's from. So with a set of headers, a 4-barrel intake, and a 4-barrel, and from the 160, it probably makes 200. So I'm going to underdrive the hell out of the blower and put 5 pounds, keep it right around 5 pounds. The block should handle that. I might get some China head studs from the good old eBay or Amazon. But I mean, as far as, I'm not building a performance motor. If I grenade it, then I'll get some sort of, scat crank or eagle crank and build some sort of rotating assembly that makes it forged. Also, I noticed that LS block that I had on the engine stand is actually cracked. So that's going away to the junkyard. And I have 2 open engine stands. A friend Austin of mine is taking apart his plow truck and junking it, which it has I think they're L31 350 Vortec motor, which is a full roller motor. My truck, the 96 to, or is it 98 to 02 or 96 to 2000, one of the two. But it's the full Vortec roller motor, so that'll be spare for me in case something happens. And I don't know, obviously it's a Vortec motor, so it's got different heads. But that's going to be going spare, picking that up shortly. I know I'm just rambling on, but yes. So today's agenda today is I want to go get a spring compressor. And I actually want to take apart my heads because where they are located here with all my workbench, they've kind of been sitting there for a while, exposed literally to everything. And as you can see, there's plenty of metal cutting and grinding. And I was looking at them. There's a bunch of metal and stuff in the valve springs, and they're all oily and sticky. So my thought was going to be, first I want to see if these valves leak. So I want to turn these cylinder heads upside down. I'm going to fill each chamber with like gasoline because obviously gas is lighter than water. I guess you could do it with water too, but put gasoline on there and see if they leak through the intake or if they leak through the exhaust manifold, okay? So that way, hopefully I can tell the valves are good. When I pull them out, I'll probably have to clean them up anyways, and maybe I'll do a quick lash, or lap, sorry, not lash, but lap. That's when I see a couple people do them different ways, but I've never done it, but I think I can figure it out. So I'm going to see if those are good, if the valves are sealing and everything like that, because for me to go to a machine shop, drop these off, to have them freshened up and reworked, it's literally as much money as me going and buying a pair of brand new heads. It's insane. Like, the price of stuff is just through the roof right now, and I mean, I don't blame guys. They're machinists. They get what they got to get. That's fine. But I think the days of redoing old cylinder heads for stock rebuilds is kind of in the leeway, or in the wayside, I should say, because like you get like China, eBay aluminum heads that people are running them. They're just changing, some of the hardware to make it better, but the casting is just the casting, and like like $500. Like, you can't. It just sucks that everything is the way it is, because I'd love to just reuse them. They are prone to cracking, but these ones aren't cracked. I didn't see any cracks that I can see, at least. But I'm going to clean them up. I'm going to change the valve seals and probably just leave the springs, clean it up myself, just get it really good. It was a running motor a few years ago. Trav just took the heads off. I kind of wish he left them on, but he took them off because he was going to put different heads on. So I'm going to clean these things up. I'm going to bolt them back on. And we're going to get an intake manifold for that. We're going to bolt that on the engine as well. And we're going to get that swapped over to gasoline, figure out a drive system to where I'm underdriving it, and then figure out the carburetor situation in the distributor. But essentially, that's my plan as far as putting the blower in the car. We're going to leave the motor stock. We're going to underdrive it so it doesn't make a ton of power. It has a blower sound. It's got the blower look. And yeah, because one tire fire over here, this thing's going to light it up for days. And then also, we're going to hopefully, once I go get the spring compressor and stuff for that, I'm going to buy one. I don't have one. I do want to do a little bit of work in here on the floors, get it to the point to where my floors are completely all welded until I get to the point to where I can pull this body off. So I know I've talked about that a ton, and I've kind of just dragging my feet, but I've had a ton of stuff going on personally with some family and stuff, and some people being, sick and stuff, so I'm not going to go over that, but I've just kind of been delayed on stuff, and I got a few days off, so I want to try to pick at some stuff. So I'm going to go make my running around, and when I get back, we'll start recording more. So actually, a complete change in direction as far as mounting my pedals. So the brake pedal, for it to clear everything, I was going to mount it down low, and it would like brake and clear the steering column. But it was so far down that like my foot was like underneath the steering wheel over here. So this is a lot more comfortable brake-wise. And then obviously the shifter's here, but it's going to come over. So it's probably going to be like short right down to the shifter, so up and over. So it should give me enough room to make some sort of gas pedal to kind of go over the transmission and literally be right and straight with the carburetors. And then the clutch pedal here, if I put the wheel on, it's not perfect. But, stand by. My feet kind of go in, right? So this wheel is obviously going to be smaller. And I did cut that and lifted this up a little bit. So the wheel is a little bit higher. But the brake here, I'm comfy with that. I can use that. And if I got a smaller wheel, a 12-inch wheel, this is going to be smaller. I'm going to have a little bit of leg room. Same thing with the clutch pedal here. But my feet naturally want to curve in, right, because I'm kind of crunched in here. So I was originally going to put the brake pedal as far over this way as I could. So I'm actually going to move the clutch pedal in a little bit. And I might position it slightly at an angle. So my foot here, it goes that way. And then I can adjust where the pedal goes, like with these screws here, also where the mating surface is. If you see here, I would adjust it over so it clears. But that works. Essentially, I cut this out thinking I was going to notch it, but I'm welding it back in. I'm just going to run one cross brace across, weld that in, and then I'm going to put another tab like this to bolt down that section so it's nice and sturdy, and it gives me some strength when I hit the brake pedal. But essentially, got my pedals figured out. All right, brake pedal mount is in place. Just made some plates with some holes. 5/16 bolts come up there, tighten it down. I got enough room up there for it to clear brake lines on the bell housing. And in theory, I got enough room, even with this big wheel, to compress the brakes. So we're good there. Next will be make the clutch mount, as well as on the back part there, behind the brake pedal. I want to make something that kind of connects the floors. I don't have a ton of room, but something to give a little bit of rigidness to it, I guess you could say. And then I still got to do the transmission tunnel. These seats, they're kind of bent out, so I'm going to unbolt them. I'm going to hammer them in. Give me like an extra inch, or a half inch or so I can run this line straight here for the tunnel. But make a leeway. All right, it's Thursday night here. It's about 9:15. I got a couple of minutes before I got to start getting ready for work. I have not worked on the T. It's been about 2 days. The last thing I did is I got the brake pedal all set up, and I'm getting ready to line up and put the clutch pedal in. That'll be on another video. I'll update you that when I'm done. But if you guys remember, I had put this black steering wheel in here. The steering wheel is actually from the 51, and we had bought a old school like wooden steering wheel, dried out old grimy wooden wheel, and I cleaned it up a little bit, but Grace liked it, and so we put it in here. But it's just, as you can see, it like sits forward, so these seats aren't really adjustable, so it's just too close, and it's a smaller radius wheel. It's only a 13.5 inch. Actually, I think it's more like a 12, and the one that's in the Model T now is 15. So I'm gonna put that back in there just because it drives better with that. It's a little bit farther forward. It's more comfortable for me to drive, and I bought that originally to be a small little wheel to put in here. So hopefully that helps with my leg room. So get those swapped out real quick. Just got some tools. I got some valve lappers, do them by hand, as well as I just got a brand new Amazon special OMT Orion Motor Tech valve spring compressor tool. Okay, so some cool gloves. That way we can get going on my cylinder heads. I'm gonna lap the valves and get ready to start putting the motor together, because not too far off from pulling the body back off and putting the motor and training back in it for good. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I got quite a bit of work to do to that. I got my slippers on tonight to convert it. Not a ton, but, and then it's gonna be quite pricey to actually build the whole blower kit. Probably be a couple grand-ish at least. So I'm thinking, since I have a carburetor, an intake, valve covers, everything to put Travis 350 back together the way he gave it to me. And then my uncle gave me 2 Edelbrock carburetors that need to be gone through there for the blower setup. I think I'm just gonna get this thing together with a regular carbon intake on it for now, and then work on putting my blower kit together on the side as I do that. But in case I get it running and I wanna move it and maybe drive it, we're gonna get it just naturally aspirated temporarily. My luck, I'll do that, and then I'll change my mind. I'll put the blower on it, right? And I'll put the blower on that thing or something, which, not a bad idea, but I'm getting sidetracked. Okay, that is much more to my liking. I think that's supposed to be in there. The black one looked cool and all, but I just feel like that's a better look for this car. And if you remember, let me grab my coffee. If you remember the Joe's Racing, I think looks better in there. Goes a little bit better with the whole black scheme I got going on here. With that being said, I'm gonna end that one off there. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Give me some feedback. Let me know what you think. We'll see you again next time.